All right, take three. WABC Swingin' Sound Survey the week of April 18, 1961 at number one at all-time standard. Everybody's heard of this record. Runaway by Dale Shannon. And Dale Shannon, his real name, Charles Westover, he was a carpet salesman. He was drafted in the Army in 1954. When he came back to Battle Creek, Michigan, and became a carpet salesman. He played in a band at night, and the band was called Charlie Johnson and the Little. I take that back. Charlie Johnson and the Big Little Show Band. They played at the High Low Club in Battle Creek, Michigan. His bandmate, Charles Westover's bandmate, a keyboard player named Max Crook. But Max Crook was not just a keyboard player. Max Crook invented his own electric keyboard. He called it the Musictron. The Musictron that created these unusual, unique organ sounds that made Runaway sound like such a unique record just stood out. It's like you heard the record driving in your car and you're thinking, my gosh, man, how did they do that? Where did that sound come from? How'd they come up with that sound? It was the Musictron. But I'm running ahead of myself. Max Crook and Dale Shannon, they got a record deal in 1960. They went to New York City for a recording session. It did not go well. It was for Big Top Records. The recording session bombed. They did a couple of ballads and it just didn't wash. Their manager, a DJ named Ollie McLaughlin. Now here's one story to this song. Ollie McLaughlin suggested that Dale Shannon and Max Crook they rewrite and re-record a song that they wrote called Little Runaway. And they rewrote the song and they went back to New York City and they re-recorded Little Runaway. Of course, it was Runaway, which featured that metal, that awesome organ metal, the Musictron, the swirling sounds of that Musictron. Max Crook tinkling the keys of that Musictron in the middle of that record. That's one story. But now there's another story about this. After the first recording session was bombed, and if I take this correctly, Max Crook and Dale Shannon went back to Battle Creek. They were performing one night when Max Crook on his Musictron came up with this chord change. And Charles Westover, Dale Shannon froze in his tracks. He said, my God, that is awesome. Where did that come from? That chord change. And legend has it that Max Crook and Dale Shannon, they came up with Runaway right there on stage. And they went back to New York City for the next recording session. They had the song. And they drove back in bitter cold weather. Their car heater was not working. They were freezing to death. When they drove back to New York City and they re-recorded Runaway, and what can I say, went to number one. As a matter of fact, when Dale Shannon left New York City, Max Crook, they left New York City to go back home, he got a call from one of the people at the record company. He said, man, Runaway, it is selling 80,000 copies a week. Boy, you can imagine Dale Shannon, he probably dropped dead when he heard that. So that's two stories told as best as I can tell it about Runaway by Dale Shannon. Just take your pick. I like the one about the stage and then driving back to the recording studio in the bitter cold weather. That just sounds more heroic for some reason. One more thing. Dale Shannon, Charles Westover changed his name to Dale Shannon. You're going to love this. The Shannon part came from a guy named Mark Shannon. He was a wrestler. He was an aspiring wrestler, who frequented the High Low Club, where Dale Shannon and his band was performing. That's where the Shannon came from, Mark Shannon. The Dale part came from Dale Shannon, or Charles Westover's boss. He owned a Cadillac Coupe de Ville. There you go. That's where the Dale came from, Dale Shannon. How brilliant is that? Number one, Dale Shannon on WABC Swingin' Sound Survey with Runaway.